If it's beer, it's also.
Carl, are you doing this or what? What, dude? What's going on right now?
Wait for the high side.
Hey, kid, we're waiting.
Let's
We're live. That was already on. Go ahead.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another session of Bar Talk.
NPR. Dude.
NPR. With your host, Karl Jordan, and somebody from Speedwell Tavern. And we are here with Bearded Johnny.
Bearded Johnny.
Kenny Smegma.
Oh
my God.
I've heard that since college.
Angela Americana Stedstad Steve.
And Lauren Smith.
We are brought to you today by Inebriar Life Drawing with Andy and Fish. And Fish, who's really better than Andy.
I agree.
The letter B.
Today we are going to be talking about new breweries, what it takes to open one, why we're opening one, what is going on with new breweries. So we're going to talk to Kenny, who's opening up Second Wind here in Plymouth. He's opening up right around Thanksgiving. By the time this comes out, we should be drinking his beer. Or pretty close to it.
We already have.
So, Kenny, you ready for these questions?
Let's do it.
All right. Why are you opening a brewery?
Fantastic question to start with, Carl.
Why, thank you very much.
I'm glad you asked.
I took a lot of notes on this one. Go ahead.
All right, so...
Okay, second question.
All right, so there's three guys in Second Wind, so I'm just the lucky one to be here with you tonight, but speaking on behalf of the three of us, it's Hans Turbush and J.R. Shepard and myself.
Sounds like my bard list. People alive in the Speedwell.
I really thought his name was Franz.
Those are the top three, yeah. Franz, Terbush, right? Yeah, all right, go ahead, sorry.
Hans, Franz, and Kenny, yeah. I think you know us better as like Mug 5, Mug 83.
Yeah.
So,
And the plumber.
Yeah.
So the three of us have a passion for beer. So doesn't anybody who opens a brewery this year. So like, what is our differentiating factor? We've put a lot of passion into this local community. We've been patrons of your establishments and others. We're craft beer fanatics ourselves. We recognize the potential that this area holds in terms of its beer tourism. We look at the growth now from Mayflower 2008, Indie Firm 2014. Now we've got Plymouth Beer, Second Wind. I'm going to stop banging my hands together. Sorry.
Just don't hit the table. You can bang your hands together.
But you can put the empty right by the mic. Don't worry about it.
So the fact is, we've got a lot of craft. The Dirty Water Distillery, the wineries, up and coming cidery on the way, and potential another brewery I hear in the works. So the fact is that there's a draw here beyond just the historical tourism, and what Second Wind is about is we are really focused on bringing quality beer to a local area we love, raising the area up in terms of its potential as a craft beer destination. We are among the people who drive to Portland, to Portsmouth, around Metro West, this area, to get good beer. We see that the ability to bring those tourist dollars, that beer passion, and harness that locally. So we've taken our passion for making great beer, our desire to do this as a professional endeavor, but mainly looking at how to kind of elevate the our position in Plymouth, Portsmouth, Portland to be in the same sentence someday. And I know I've gotten some flack about that. That's a really heady aspiration, but why not? Like, really, I think we've got a fantastic start with the craft beverages. We've got great food. We've got the tourism backbone that supports people who are already coming here. So why not come here for a great drink and dinner after you've seen the sights, and to go back and be able to reflect on, I've had some really great beer from some small breweries that's going to build the buzz of what Plymouth can offer. So really, I'd love to say our mission is about community. It's about Plymouth. and I think our commitment to that is what we'll, what's going on around me? No problem. Our commitment to that mission is what you'll find evident in what we talk about.
You mentioned JR and Hans. Tell me a little bit about them and how you got involved with them.
Talk about JR.
Sure.
Yeah, don't talk about JR. Just talk about Hans.
I want to talk about. All right. Go ahead.
And just tell us how you guys got together. And I'm sure it was sitting at a bar stool and said, "What the hell? Let's do this."
Pretty close. So
I think thousands of people say it, but you were actually doing it.
Yeah, anyone remembers back to 2010, aside from BBC, the only place you could really get a lot of craft beer was T-Bones. And then you saw New World open, late 2011, Driftwood open early 2012. And that brought a lot of us together that we, as the advent of social media, Untappd became kind of a popular thing as well. And we were picking up people who we were drinking with in similar locations. We were at Cape Cod Brew Fest together. Oh yeah, I know these guys. They're my Untappd friends. And it really goes back to JR and one of his buddies, Sage, had started a beer trading forum on Facebook. And one of the posts was, hey, everybody share your Untappd ID. And that's how everyone kind of found where they were drinking. And lo and behold, they were drinking at New World Tavern. And we just found that, hey, that guy that just checked in that beer is sitting down the other end of the bar. And we met that way, and I met the guys at Cape Cod Brew Fest that year, whatever it was, 12 or 13, and found that not only do we have a passion for craft beer, but also in brewing. And credit Hans and JR with forming what is now today's local homebrew club. So it wasn't mainly about just drinking beer, but it was kind of a social club to start, but it was every weekend we were brewing. There was probably 4 or 5 of us that were getting together in Hans's kitchen and brewing beer. And the basis of those beers was not like, let's just, brew beer, divvy it up. It was, let's go out and investigate new styles. Hey, I heard about this thing called Pivo or Coit or whatever.
Angela's last name.
And we were, and we brought back a community of people, and we were all wanted to be better. And that brew club started off doing extract brews, which is the kind of the beer kit starter version. Then we got into all grain, and Hans has been brewing. So talking more about our guys, Hans has been brewing for about 13 years, and brought the expertise of all grain brewing to this group. And really sponsored and fostered an environment for people to learn about brewing. So we'd meet somebody at New World, and we'd say, hey, you want to learn how to brew? Come with us. And so over doing that for the course of a year and a half, lo and behold, what should open below Hans's apartment but a homebrew supply store?
Right.
And within months,
destiny, right?
He's got a key to the place, and he's running coverage for them when they need help. And that became like an ultimate sponsorship. And we said, what about a homebrew club? We've got people in town. We recognized among the 3 of us, clicked in personalities, clicked in how we brewed together, but realized there was a lot we needed to learn and weren't proud or arrogant enough to think we could learn it all ourselves. So we thought homebrew club brings in crowdsourcing knowledge before it was a thing. And with Tina's help in the homebrew shop, we brought in about 20 members, and we met, every month, and we were doing BJCP beer tastings, and we were bringing homebrews, and we were critiquing each other. So that kind of explains how the 3 of us met, the origin of our passion on this journey for creating beer. But at one point, we realized we wanted more out of this.
I not to interrupt you, but
please do.
I just so you're going into it, and I'm a new guy to Plymouth too. Like, especially in the spectrum you guys are talking, because you obviously the roots of dig way further than when Speedball sort of opened in 2013. But I do remember this as we started building a relationship with you and JR and Hans when we first opened, and I just remember one night, and I tell this story whenever people ask me about Second Wind. You guys, it was like late January 2014. We were about open for about four months, and you dropped over a bottle of this Russian Imperial Stout, and my experiences and people dropping me off homebrew, and knock on well, it usually ends with a long night on the toilet. No offense to anybody of you that have dropped me some homebrew. Doesn't necessarily mean you, but they weren't cared for correctly. It just wasn't the vision they thought it was. They worked so hard on it that they thought it was the best thing ever. And, they talked it up and yada yada. But I remember that Russian Imperial Stout, and I drank it on a winter night. We had got snowed in at Speedwell. We closed for the night, and I was like, oh shit, I got that homebrew. So I cracked it open, and I was like, these fucking dudes are giving me someone else's beer and pouring it off. There's no way that they're brewing this in a home kitchen. This is a Russian Imperial Stout. There wasn't barrel aged. There was no flavoring added to it. It was, you guys were doing all mash. You were doing it in a kitchen. And it was correct me if I'm wrong, but a double-digit ABV, alcohol by volume, Russian Imperial Stout. And I was like, holy shit. And then to find out you guys open a brewery, I got just super excited because all I can think about is that goddamn bottle Hans gave me. Yep. And Hans, I love you to death, but you were blackout drunk that night.
Shocking.
Yeah, handsy. But it was a kind gesture, and man, I enjoyed it. And don't get me wrong, I was quite a few sheets to the wind myself. But
Yeah, they're making that beer. But go ahead.
yeah. But it was a really good beer, and it was sort of like a sign of things to come. You could tell you guys not just did your homework in the market, but there was a background there. Like you were making. I'm not well traveled, so I won't say world class, but at least high enough class in my general area, the Northeast of America, where I was like, holy shit, these guys are actually going to do it. And when you actually did it, you're almost there. You're not there yet, but
Well,
John.
Can I share? First
You don't have to
time
put up your hand.
No, I like that. It's all soft on the table. That's
You
a
kinda
good
do.
thing. Yeah.
First time I met Hans, and this speaks to just hanging out with Kenny and JR and all of them. But first time I met Hans, it was about 4 years ago. I was working at the liquor store in Kingston, and he came in and he put Founder's Breakfast Stout on the counter. He's like, "Oh yeah, I just brewed a clone recipe of Founder's Breakfast Stout."
Phantom breakfast.
and I was like, "Oh, good beer." Yeah, and at the time, honestly, sorry Hans, but I had never had the beer at that point. I said it was a good beer. I didn't know it was a good beer. And I've been hiding that lie for 4 years.
Is there anything else you want to
Is
come
this
on?
confession? Oh, I like that. Can we go with the confession theme?
That's a whole nother podcast, my brother.
We plugged Second Wind. We all blew.
He's got the Irish glow right now.
But
Wait a minute.
I'm really happy.
Second wind. Okay.
I'm really happy these guys have opened up or are opening up a brewery because they have always shown commitment to brewing. And I've brewed with Hans in a failure way, but it's okay.
That beer was killer.
Literally killed me.
and it was just, and I've had home brews from Kenny for when he brewed a beer for the debut of his child.
Yeah.
And so I'm very happy that they're opening up a brewery in this area.
So I appreciate that. I will say the double IPA that Hans and Johnny brewed was awesome, and actually it was around July 4th that we poured it and had it. We blind taste tested it a number of other big double IPAs, and hands down. Now, granted, it was a small population of people who were drinking and watching fireworks from the roof of Hans' apartment, but
So romantic.
nonetheless, I want you to know that beer was far
really proing out right now.
far from a failure. And I'll tell another shop secret
Bromance.
before I get back to the chronology of Second Wind here, which is that beer we brewed for the birth of my son was something easy that Hans and I brewed together. I pulled it together based on some of the research I had done, and I really wanted to try out this new hop called Equinox and some of the cool flavors it gave. If you were at Bacon and Beer Jamboree this weekend and you drank the Juggernaut, You drank the birth, the
birth of your son.
you drank,
Please tell me there was no placenta in that beer.
Just the juice.
wow, we're really taking it there. Although I will say,
started it.
I guess I'll finish it in that. Yeah, the beer was named Vernix Equinox because the birth of my son, which is kind of gross. But anyway,
His name is Vernix.
no. So anyhow, we got a lot of inspiration out of. I'll bring it back online here. So we've got a lot of inspiration out of commercial styles and some of the things obviously some of the beers we're brewing now we grew out of our homebrew repertoire. I mentioned the Phantom Breakfast. We did because JR loves. I mean, we all love Star Wars, but JR is really into that aspect of things. And named we had a whole series of beers. We did a Heady Topper clone called Return to the Heady. We had the Phantom Breakfast after Phantom Menace. So there was a bunch of times where, as homebrewers, we wanted to experiment and see could we get our skill level up to the point of reaching some of those pivotal beers in each of those styles. And that stout, really, I'd say our wheelhouse is in IPAs and stouts, and the stout recipe is one that's evolved over many years. We do a milk stout version of it. We'll do a straight stout version of it, and then the wheel of options there are vanilla, coconut. Did I already say vanilla?
Yeah.
Wow.
No, vanilla.
You weren't even 2 degrees away from Kevin Bacon, dude. Come on, man.
Well, speaking of styles, what is the brewery going to be coming out with? What is Second Wind coming out with?
So our like I said, I'll use the term again. Our wheelhouse is really on those big, rich stouts, big, juicy, hoppy IPAs, and then we've got another facet that we're really into, and I kind of want to go back into a little bit of the history here, but if you'll indulge me, about historical styles. So how we've come about in terms of where our knowledge and passion has been illustrated is in some of the styles we've done. Neil Eddy was bartending at Driftwood at a time when he came in and said, "Hey Hans, I just got this new beer. It's I think it wasn't even the long shot from Sam Adams, but it was a Gretzer." And he's like, "It's this smoked beer." And Hans is like, "I've never had anything like this before." And went home and studied it and studied this. And that's what I was trying to say earlier. I can never say it, but the Piwo Grodzickie style beer is this old Polish style of 100% smoked oaked smoked wheat, and it's like a 3.5% beer, super easy drinking but nice smoked beer.
How did that beer come about? That's a really, really interesting style. I've been around the block for a little bit, so that style. I mean, it's a dead style, so it's centuries.
It is
a dead style.
I don't know centuries, but it's a couple of centuries old style. Renamed Gretzer by Nazi occupation of Poland, so It's got that traditional style. We went to. I'm kind of jumping all over, but in terms of styles, we went to Farmer Brewer Weekend, which is an event thrown locally in Massachusetts, hosted by Valley Malt, and they brought in a gentleman from the Netherlands, and he was talking about this Dutch style called Koit, Lux, all these other old styles, these dead styles, and. Yeah, there's a bit of it that's marketing, we've got these, Adam beer and Peter, all these different styles of beer that no one knows about.
How do you feel they're going to be received? So I did already interrupted. I apologize for interrupting, I guess.
Okay.
But I'm fascinated by the styles that I'm not used to seeing everywhere. Even a store like we're in right now, like CBC, that has everything. I'm sure there's quite a few of those. They don't jump out to me. You know what I mean? So. Personally, I've become over the years where I'm sort of losing my steam, more of not a casual beer drinker, but I've definitely fallen. So those styles are super appealing because they're original and not a lot of people are doing them. What do you think the casual beer drinker, I guess, the casual craft beer drinker, I guess you could say like myself, are going to appeal to those? And you're brewing them because you're obviously a history buff, and you have a passion for them. Do you think they're gonna?
I don't think there's a way to have a beer style that appeals to everyone. So if you peel back our business plan, we looked at basically 3 segments of this market. We've got the people who are going to be hype consumers who want what's latest and come in, look at the board, see we don't have a new beer, and walk out. There's those people that we want to do the different variants, the different hops, the different that's and we recognize that that's a segment of the market that's valuable to cater to. We recognize that there's people that want their local. They want to have consistent, good quality beer. They're going to dabble in some of the lower alcohol or those weird styles. They're going to have a favorite that they might take home in some crowlers, and they're kind of our core group for kind of testing out some of that experimental beer. And then we've obviously got a huge tourist population that's coming through, and they're going to have a mix of understanding whether they're going to compare a beer to their local market, or they don't drink craft beer at all, but they're in town and they just walked up from the Rock and they want something. So if we were to put up 4 beers to start, and we had a big stout, a nice, our session IPA, a Goza or a Wit, you kind of cover that market where you've got something big and hoppy, something strong and rich, something easy drinking, something that kind of covers, this is an interesting style I've never heard of. And that's our way of thinking about this, because we want to keep it fresh. We want to be interesting to ourselves. We want to have a strong hold on the market as well.
Right. How many lines are you going to have?
We'll have 8 taps.
8 taps.
Yeah.
Right. So your idea isn't you're not introducing you're not playing around with these historical styles because you're trying to be to throw it backwards like the flagship for that style. Like a lot of breweries become sort of identified by this one style.
Right.
You're just experimenting for fun. You understand. You got to do a stout. You got to do an IPA. You got to do a wit, and you guys are focusing on that. But you're having your fun in some of these historical styles as well.
Yeah,
and let your knowledge kind of
the fun part of it. So, and getting back to like the passion for learning. So, I gave you an example of how Hans took that one beer and kind of studied it and then mastered it and made multiple versions of it, and then ultimately, we were able to bring that to a point where we're like, this is a beer that it's odd, like a smoked beer, really light in alcohol. It doesn't fit any current market trends, but it's really easy drinking and it's kind of cool, and it has that that to it that we love the knowledge of kind of our forebearers and the history of beer, but we've also we've touched on various points of the night. Also, education. JR and I are both certified cicerones. Hans is a certified beer server. We've invested in studying styles and understanding the difference, and not just throwing a bunch of grain and hops together and it comes out mid-style and we just call it something else. We really we want to make beers that are consistent in style and true to their guidelines. And if we just opened up with 8 lines of Adam beer, Peterman, Coit, weird beers,
right,
maybe that would appeal to a small portion of the market, and maybe it would appease that part of us that wants to learn about all these weird dead styles. But the reality is, we love drinking big hoppy IPAs. We love rich stouts, and those one in a
it's
snifter.
also what pays the bills, and you guys obviously understand that.
Well, yeah, we can't discredit the fact that the market will drive.
You got to sell what people want.
You got to sell what people want.
You got to sell
too.
what people want.
And it sounds like you guys have a really good understanding.
And I think
there's 2 breweries, one in Bridgewater, one in Weymouth, I
Black
believe,
Hat,
that
Barrel
never
Whiskey.
did IPAs that are doing IPAs now because that's what the public is crying for.
right.
And when they opened up, they said, "We will not do an IPA. We're doing this. We're not going to do an IPA. We're going to do that."
Yeah, and the same thing with Indie Firm. I mean, Indie Firm. So it kind of I can tie it back into our chronology story here. So Hans, JR, and I are brewing homebrew every week. We're making tons of brew and putting it out. Trying to get people to sample it and build a buzz, even before we have any idea of how we would open a brewery. But that's the dream at that point. We recognized that we needed the experience and the credibility. And Hans started doing, he'd worked on the plumbing at Mayflower. And when Indie Firm was opening, Paul had reached out and talked to Stefani. Tom Stefani says, "Hey, I got a guy."
Stefani is the plumbing company that
right.
Hans works for.
He's a brewer. Yeah. I didn't mean Gwen Stefani, his girlfriend. So the fact is that was our foot in the door. And Hans did the plumbing for Indie Firm and said, hey, I love to brew. I'd love to help you get started. And I got this other guy, JR, and he and JR were the first interns, if you will, in the whatever legal context I can say that, of Indie Firm, and brewed for the, was that like spring and summer of 2014, and recognizing where our aspirations were, and we all needed that foot in the door. I got my way in based on wanting to learn how to cellar, learning the grunt work in the trade, knowing that was the way in, as well as my ability to my schedule gives me the flexibility to brew during the week. And while talking about, hey, there's this new brewery in town that we're working at and trying to build some hype in town, it built up some demand that needed to brew. We were brewing twice a week.
And who's going to be doing your brewing?
And so for Second Wind, our model is set up such that if you look at our personal schedules, it kind of fits in with how we've designed our operating model. And by not surprisingly, we wouldn't create an operating model we couldn't do. So we will brew primarily on Sundays. Hans and JR are our primary lead brewers.
Okay.
Any of us is capable of operating the brewing equipment. The brewing equipment we're using is similar to what we were brewing on. Fast forward, what I was getting at was we all ended up brewing at Indie Firm for a couple of years, and are all comfortable in the brew house. But Hans is our development and artistic mind. He's the guy behind our recipe development and the research. JR is like a machine, literally and figuratively, in terms of like precision and his
he's also an
focus.
engineer, right?
He's a CNC machinist, so he looks at things in terms of thousands and micrometers on a daily basis.
Possible.
Like he is looking at every process and understanding how to cut out waste. So you look at a brew day, and I'll use one example. Like when the three of us started brewing at Indie Firm, we were still all kind of figuring out that brew system, and it might take us, say, 8 hours to brew one batch. By the time we left Indie Firm back in summer of last year, there were times when they would triple batch honey triple, so high ABV beer. So that day that would normally take us, from a year or two prior, 8 hours to make 2 barrels. They were doing 6 barrels in a 12 or 13-hour day. And a lot of that came from JR's ability to say, if we set up the tanks this way, and if we move the process from brew 1 to brew 2, like he's got that kind of mind that can kind of lay. I'll even say it's a beautiful mind that he can kind of lay out.
Oh, don't so.
He can kind of lay out.
mean that easy. There's Hans.
No, I'm not JR.
We can edit that.
I'm talking about JR.
Oh no, yeah, JR is a beautiful line. I like that.
They're left brain and right brain. The two of them perfectly complementary, and then there's me in the background in terms of the I'm the guy getting the tanks ready, doing the cleaning, and figuring out kind of our cadence in terms of how that's all going to work. So you asked me how we're going to work. So Sundays, JR and Hans are going to be the primary guys in the brewery. I'm going to be there too. Throughout the week, our work schedules lend themselves to where I'll do most of the cellaring, cleaning, distribution, admin stuff. But the guys will be there in nights and weekends to run the tap room. And that's kind of the mix. That's kind of how we operated. Because once we got to a point, in our previous jobs, where we were kind of the back of the house and had the comfort, Paul had comfort to be able to kind of leave us back there to run things. That's how we learned that rhythm, that dance. And I think that's one of the strengths we have is the diversity of our skills, the difference of how we, what we prefer to do in the brewing operation. We can all back each other up, but we all have kind of our primary job.
So you guys like a triple threat. Basically, everyone's kind of doing everything.
Everyone's capable of doing everything, but everyone is suited to everyone's working towards their strong suit.
So
like, can I brew beer? Yes.
Who's generally assigned the brewing?
But that's what I'm saying. Hans and JR are the primary.
Yeah, okay, all right, cool. What about sales? So who's going to be the guy pounding the pavement?
Me.
Damn.
Yeah, this is the face.
I'm only kidding. I love kidding.
But did you see him kill it at town hall?
And if you bring the kids around, you're all set.
So tell us a little bit more about the tap room. I want to get into
let's talk about the brewery.
Yeah, let's talk about the brewery itself. But you know what? Before we get to the tap room, tell us about the name.
All right. So our brewing has always been, like I said, on the weekends and in the nighttime. It's always been something we've done on top of our day jobs and our lives. So to start this off, like, we had great aspirations of growing a brewery in the success and in the footprint of other breweries that started on the 2-barrel system and grew into, look at like a Night Shift today. Those guys, 3 guys, started homebrewing at night and started on a small system, and now look at where they've come. So that's kind of been our inspiration, and to do that at a scale that we could actually jump into without being completely in debt or just having so much risk that we couldn't live healthy lives. We wanted to start a small brewery in a place that we knew we could grow healthily, based on the relationships we have, while keeping our day jobs. So
Right.
Is the aspiration to eventually work full-time as brewers? Yes. So right now, Second Wind represents the energy it will take to get beyond... Excuse me. Wow, what'd you pour me there? Second
La limoncello.
so Second Wind is
Yet.
ultimately about energy.
Yes.
So literally, yes, it's the energy that we will need to be brewing on the nights and weekends while we've got day jobs and kids and girlfriends and wives and families. Not all of us have all of those things, but you get the point. The fact is that we are passionate about this. This is not just something we're doing for fun. This is a business we want to create, but it's something on a balance of risk and capital and exposure that we're willing to take on right now, recognizing that we are going to need help. We're going to need help soon, and we're looking at the ability to employ people locally. We want to bring on taproom help, but for cost purposes, for getting off the ground, we want to do it all ourselves. Second Wind's also about where our branding. We've got very sleek. People say it's like an industrial logo, and our branding is clean, and we've got our tap room's about stainless and tile, and everything's kind of modern. And you've got that all juxtaposed around historical monuments, all these traditional monuments.
The oldest
and
town in the north.
respectfully
Yeah.
so. Like, we recognize that there's tradition, and there's a lot of nods to history, but we want to be fresh, we want to be hip, we want to be relevant, and that's kind of comes across through our branding, through the beers we're producing, through the energy we try to bring through events and our beers. So there's a Second Wind also in terms of like bringing this new life to our historical area without not trying to replace it, but augment it in terms of come see the Rock, come by and have some great beers, stay for dinner. Like that's our mission. Like, we want to just bring that kind of experience to people, and I guess I'll end on that point. Ask me another question.
So I want to play off that. So I know what Second One means to you guys, but
Yeah.
what do you want it to mean?
What does it mean to you, Jordan?
What does it mean to the consumer? No, not to me. Who cares about the guy buying the beer? But it's the consumer. Like, so I think a large part, and we touched on it in the previous episode, where people decide what beer they're going to drink or whatever they're going to consume in general is about identity and how they relate to it, and it's very subjective. You brand Second Wind, and I know you guys worked really hard on it. I was hearing you guys out, and when you came up with the name, it was the different logos. I saw them, and I was happy that you guys shared that with me. But what do you want the consumer to? How is the consumer going to relate to Second Wind? I asked this question because I feel like I've gotten an answer already. I think it was either from you or Hans, but I think the listeners would also enjoy sort of where do you want. You guys are providing your Second Wind. It relates to your Second Wind, your sort of second thing besides your day jobs. What do you want the consumer to relate to as far as Second Wind? Identify with the brand.
I think, again, along the lines of energy and adrenaline and I mean, we're not making an energy drink here, but my point is around being an exciting brand. Like, we want the consumer to connect with a community of beer drinkers focused on relevant styles and high quality. We're not going to put anything out. Like that's one of the things that I know a lot of breweries struggle with, or will say that, we don't want to feel the pressures of ever having to put out beer that we would not want to drink ourselves, or that would taint our brand, or that would be let our consumers down. So the consumer is foremost in our minds, and I know there's a lot of thought around how branding in terms of what a beer is in terms of what the market wants versus what brewers want to brew, and how that's reflected in the styles. For us, I'm doing my best here, guys.
No, absolutely.
For the listener at home, there's a game of charades going on.
No, and also it's a really sort of. And Kenny, in all fairness, man, that's an open-ended question. It's just, I know when I talked to you guys, you were sort of
I'm trying to hold it together. So
you were like, we got our day job. This is what you told me, and just go and this, and you know what? We oftentimes
We just thought it was going to be a yes or no question.
right. But oftentimes when we connect, it's usually after a few beers. We all get out of work, but. Basically, the answer I got.
I should be more concise, and I admit I was a little distracted.
No.
Do my best.
There was a lot for the listeners. A lot going on right now. We got limoncello getting passed around.
Cheers.
Let's all do a cheers. A little reset button here.
Second win.
Cheers. Let's all get a second win on this podcast.
All right, now that we've totally thrown off your
That's
thought
my
process,
homemade.
That's really good.
tell us what
Thank
the
you.
tap room's going to
Thank
look
you.
like. As if I'm a consumer walking in, what's
Yeah.
the address? Where is it? How do I get
All right,
there?
perfect.
What's it going to look like?
And
is
what-
there going to be girls with bikinis or guys that
Well,
look
also
like me
in
there?
comparison to other, we have another brewery up here. We have we have Bay State Brew Tours here as well, who bring the consumer to a bunch of breweries
it's
at
exciting.
once. What's going to separate Second Wind from?
Is there going to be
I
art
just
hanging
asked
there?
if there was going to be girls in bikinis.
Actually, I do.
Yeah, but I want to specify why we're asking the question.
All right.
Hey,
Can I-
bikini car washes might be a really revolutionary thing you could bring to the industry.
I don't think you want to see JR or me in a.
Can I just say,
Bikini.
from a Bay State Brew
Best
Bay State Brew Tours point of view, that I think
No, you
that
can't say that.
that's true. With Second Wind coming in and Plymouth Beer Co. both coming in, I think that it brings a market that Plymouth was severely missing, which was the New England IPA, what everyone is looking for type of situation. Because for someone like me, that their favorite style is New England IPA, I want to stay local. I want to stay in Plymouth. But until recently, it's been very difficult to find Plymouth beers that are like that New England style. So Second Wind coming in and Plymouth Beer Co. coming in is huge for us.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And just tap room.
Oh yeah, right.
So going back to the tap room too. Obviously the quality of beer is a huge thing, and I don't think we'll have. I know we won't. There's no issue there. The quality of the beer is good. I've had the juice, but tap rooms are becoming sort of the root of, that's where your bread and butter is.
Right.
You get the people in. That's where they sort of, we're talking about forming an identity with a brand and identifying with a brand. If people walk into Speedwell and this is my bar. Well, what about brewery? They walk into a brewery. This is my brewery. They got a good bartender. They got good beer. They got a good atmosphere.
It's their
What
purpose.
are you guys gonna do? And you touched on a little bit with the cleanliness and sort of the sleekness of the logo, and but just get us in the loop of what's going on with the
So
construction.
I'm
of the
going to
brewery.
rattle off a couple of things because I know I get long-winded here. So our tap room is located at 7 Howland Street. So we are up the street from Plymouth Bay Winery. So smack dab between Court and Water Street. So great location. We get a lot of foot traffic. We've got a ton of people stopping in while we're there, just building, looking to come in and look around. Our tap room, we're in a downtown location, and looking at the different facets of the perfect location. When you look at size, location, and landlord, it seems like you can only win on two. We've got a great landlord who's been supportive of us. We've got a great location, but we're really, really small. And so a lot of people are like, oh, you have no parking. Well, we have the same parking as both of your restaurants, your bars. So that's something that people will have to, that's something we'll have to.
Don't get me.
We'll
separate episode.
We're hoping
Parking
that the parking behind Town Hall and the other lots that things that'll work out. But nonetheless, people who make the journey, they're going to find their way into us. Once they arrive, they're going to see, yes, we have a very intimate 6-seat standing room. We've yet to set capacity with the town, but we've got our tap room which is just an extension of the brewery, and then we've got a small patio space outside, 400 square feet, which maybe we can put up like 6 high tops. So we're looking at a place that comfortably, we're talking 30 people-ish, max capacity, probably stretch 30, 40. So when our goal of a tap room is not, yes, the economics of tap room, closer you sell it to the brewery, the better. But the reality is our vision is to connect with the customer. We build that brand by giving them the beer, by telling them why we brewed it, how we brewed it, showing them where we brewed it. And that's important to us. And I do worry about the ability for getting people who show up and see, oh, it's too crowded or there's a line. And I know that our previous episode talked about there's a line and there's hype and there's things like that. I'm not going to deny that's a factor that fits into the current norm. But I'm also looking at how can we present our beer in a way that we can reach and we can address enough of the market demand that's helpful for both us and the consumer. We don't want to turn people away, but we also have ideals of having our beer in a lot of local restaurants. We want to be able to have the things that keep me up at night are the mix between what I put in New World and what I put in Speedwell and what I've got down the street, and how we're all a finite amount of beer and keeping all our consumers with the beer they're looking for, while also maybe keeping something special back for the brewery, but also having something that keeps you guys interested to buy our beer. So there's a lot of that dynamic that goes on with having a really, really small brewery that I'm hoping that we can just kill it through that location, have people coming up and down the street, grabbing beers on their way to the beach or the boat, on their way to and from dinner, on their way to, where else can I get your beer? Well, here's, the places where you can get it and build that. And then from there, we'll see. What's the next step? Another place opens up on Court Street or something. Can we build out a tap room? Do we have to build another facility?
And
whatever we do,
right?
Whatever we do, if we do anything beyond that space, it will only be at the point where we have assessed that we cannot pull another drop out of that building. We cannot optimize any more processes, because smart growth is our core. We are looking to be a benefit to the local economy. We don't want to grow too fast and go under.
I'll grow you a pot and then move.
But if we do it right and we're smart and we keep the plan that we've got, I'm really excited for the next few years. I'm really excited to be attracting. I know there's other breweries looking at this area.
So
right
when you
now.
fire Hans, how do you? I'm only kidding. Hansi, I love you so much, but I just needed to.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because you'll judge.
He already fired him 3 times.
I know.
You will judge how we're doing based on at some point one of us will have to. That's the thing. You look at all the.
I hope
you look at all the 3-person breweries. Night shift. Someone eventually has to go full time, and then everybody go.
I thought Three Brewmigos was a better name, but you went with second.
Eventually, you've got somebody, and that for us, I always hammer home this point that this is not a side project for us. This is not a, professionalizing a hobby. This is something that we are passionate about. Something that we feel is incredibly well timed and great for this area.
Yes.
We are excited about the brew bus.
I think that's super obvious, man. And brew bus, yeah, absolutely. You must see. You know what I mean? Like you said, you're super enthusiastic that you got another brewery. You have Plymouth Beer Company just open up. You got Second Wind.
I really, honestly, I think that Second Wind is going to be absolutely huge for this community. I think that with building the quote-unquote third P of places to go for breweries, I think that Second Wind is going to be instrumental in that, because they have such a unique way of brewing. I know that every beer fest that I've been to that they have poured at, they were the talk of the beer fest. You were the talk of the beer fest at Hop Fest. Obviously,
That's
Farmer
true.
Brew Fest at Farmer Brew Fest. We talked about this at Black Hat. You said that people were coming up about your milk stout, and they were like, "Oh, I've heard about your milk stout. I've heard about your milk stout."
Awesome.
I think that I know these guys well enough to say that I definitely think they know exactly what they're doing. I think with all of their backgrounds in brewing and Cicerone certification and working at Craft Beer Cellar, I think that the power of the three of them together is just going to be absolutely outstanding.
It's kind of unfair. I not to interrupt, but like I came in as a restaurant that didn't know anybody in Plymouth, and like these guys have been dicking around for 11 years doing beer and frequent everybody's restaurants and coming in like worried about how much business they're gonna do. I'm like, you guys fucking kidding me? Like when you open this, like are you kidding me? Like no one knew me in Plymouth when I came into Plymouth. You guys are worried. You have nothing to be worried about.
I
touch on an important part there, because one of the things you'll see is through this and the previous podcast we did, I get passion. Things I'm passionate about, I have a hard time being concise about. So we can talk. We were talking about open this brewery. We had a different brewery name, and in the time it took us to finally get around to that name, someone already opened that brewery. So if you go to Wells, Maine now, you can go to Theory Brewing Company. If you go to New World Tavern,
remember that.
You'll see on the wall my plaque says my favorite beer is Theory Brewing Company Barrel Series, because that's what we were barrel aging our stout that you mentioned earlier.
No shit.
On like dirty water
theory.
barrels and things like that. And so I was like, this is my motivation. Every time I walk by that plaque, I go to the bathroom, I'm going to remind it, open this friggin' brewery.
Yeah.
And it was a huge lesson for us to learn, because we talked and talked and talked, and we would meet. We would meet at my house, and we would, we'd finish our day jobs. We'd go work at the other brewery, and then we'd be done there, and then we'd go to my house and meet. And my wife would just say, shit or get off the pot. You guys have been talking about this brewery for 2 years. Either open it or never talk about it again. Sell the house, take the equity out, whatever you need to do.
That's a woman right there.
Do it.
Well,
That's a
Never,
woman
if you
right
don't
there.
do it,
Is
never,
she right, Carl? Like
never
it's
talk
the truth.
about it again. And she's been the kind of, I won't say that, like the sole driving force. Obviously, we have our own passion, but she kicked us off the fence.
I'm so tired of people just like
we should
saying
do
they're gonna
something.
do shit and not doing shit. And
Well, you two do some shit.
I do a lot of talking, but that's why I'm hosting a podcast.
That's
with
not
Carl.
nothing.
But
That's not nothing. Talking is something. You can't discount
but
talking.
you guys are actually doing it, and let me tell you, man, it's awesome. Like I said, I came into town. You guys handed me a bottle of stout. I was like, shit. If you guys ever do it, they're gonna be all right. And you guys are doing it now, man. It's respectable. Man.
It's exciting.
Last call.
It's scary,
Oh,
exciting
shit.
all together. Like we're
Ding, ding, ding.
we're
ding.
really really looking forward to this. So thanks for dedicating a segment to us to talk about this. We're really. It's all about the community. It's really about what we can do to help.
Boy, I really hope
each
your
other.
beer's going to be good after all this. I'll tell
It's last call, everybody, and obviously Carl's had too much.
Get the highest ABV possible.
So, last call is the portion of the show where we basically throw it around the table and everybody gets their last 15 seconds or 20 minutes of fame, if you're Kenny.
Oh,
Wow. It's
I know what you
on
meant.
a
I know what you
roll.
meant.
Kenny, this is the second win show.
I know what you meant.
Hey, I kept my mouth shut like the whole episode.
we already got to last call. I only asked 2 questions.
This is probably going to be the most downloaded show because you said nothing. I've been trying to lose this guy.
Overtime.
But last call, basically. So I'm going to plug it again, and you've heard it on the previous episode. But Carl and I got a bet, and I'm probably going to lose. But
Yes.
I need your help. I need you to root for me. If the
It's not going to help.
You heard on the previous episode, I think that's the way this order is going to sort of fall out. Carl and I made a bet about the Patriots. Basically, if they go 12-4, I lose. If they go 13-3, I win. The loser has to bartend at the opposing guy's bar. So if Carl wins, I got to bartend a New World wear
Which
Hawaiian
would be
shirt
awesome.
and white New Balances. And
Okay.
all tips will be donated to a charity of the opponent's
What
choosing.
charities are you choosing?
Well, we haven't chosen yet. We're going to wait and see if as we get closer, so that we could pick a local charity.
Yes.
We feel that if we donate to the bigger charities, the amount of money that we can donate might get lost in the shuffle, and it's really not as important to them
Right,
as it could be for somebody that's
For
maybe
somebody local.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly, and especially right after the holidays,
Respect.
people
Respect.
need that pick. So we're really not picking one yet, but we're going to pick one.
Can I throw a suggestion out there?
Of course.
Everybody donates to Toys for Tots. Tatum talks about this all the time. But the children that get forgotten about is the teenagers
Right.
and the older children. Just food for thought.
Food for thought. And no, we're open to
Everyone has
suggestions.
Toys for Tots, but nobody has Toys for Teenagers.
The date of event it'll be at Speedwell Tavern the Sunday before.
It'll be at New World Tavern.
It will
be
be
a
at New World
bartender.
Tavern.
Yeah, that's basically my last call. But
And no matter who you root for, we just appreciate you coming down. Donate some money to a good charity, and
Yes.
it's going to be a lot of fun
so he means
at the New World Tavern.
all the people rooting.
At the New World Tavern.
Done. Okay.
Get some poutine fries.
Jordan, I want a beer.
It's last
Here we
call.
go. I can already see it. They got to win out. Johnny Payton, baby.
Oh,
Welcome back.
You're here, man.
I was feeling here tonight, but
You got some words in.
very happy for Second Wind opening up, and I'm looking forward to them getting into the bars around here. I think it's important that they don't focus on just the tap room, but everyone in the area. Be all good. Go out, rep Second Wind.
Whoop, whoop. Woo. That's
Jordan, I
nice.
want another beer.
It's
Kenny
last
Semcken,
call, you already got
baby.
it.
All right, yeah. So Kenny from Second Wind Brewing, 7 Howland Street, downtown Plymouth, coming to you soon from hopefully November for the Thanksgiving time frame. We'll be open, barring a few more challenges. We are ready to go. It's been a great chat. I appreciate the excitement, enthusiasm from the local community, and that stretch is actually pretty far. I've gotten a lot of calls from really outside of Plymouth and people looking to come and visit us. So I know that's good for us. That's good for the town, and we are looking forward to bringing our beer to everyone as soon as we can. Thanks for having us.
Right.
Thanks, Ken.
So, I am Angela Alstead of Crappy Assault.
I would have introduced her, but I still can't pronounce it.
Oh my god. I'm done.
I'm not done. She loves me.
Angela Alstead.
Pronounce Angela.
Alstead.
Alstead.
So I am also extremely excited for Second Wind because we will be taking our Base Day Brew Tour buses there. I am extremely excited for Speedwell, who won Best Chicken Wings on the South Shore 2 years in a row. And then there's
Thanks,
chicken wings is that?
Shut up. And then there's New World Tavern that this year they won Best Beer List, but that wasn't the first year they won that, correct?
No, we've won it, I think, ever since we've been open.
Well, can we give it up for that? And they have a new chef in the house.
Yes, we do.
And
Bobby
you come to Craft Beer Cellar Plymouth, where you can make your own mix packs and take a ride on Bay State Brew Tours to all of your favorite Plymouth breweries next spring. And Speedwell's my shit, and keep going.
Boom.
All right. Thanks everyone for listening. We're gonna sign off, but don't forget to follow us on Twitter and on Facebook at Bar Talk Cast. Right? Did I get that correct? Yes, I got the thumbs up from Andy. I'd like to thank Inebriat for hosting the show and producing it as well, and cleaning up all the times we hit the table. Don't forget bartalkcast@gmail.com, bartalkcast, and at Twitter and on Facebook. I'd like to thank our guests for being here today. Kenny, wish you all the luck in the world, man.
Thanks.
They don't need it; they're gonna kill it.
Yeah, I know. I feel
That's
guilty
never
even
hurt.
saying good luck. It's redundant at this point. Thanks, John Payton. Thanks, Kenny Semcken. Thanks, Lauren Smith. Thanks, Angela.
Stop.
And thanks, Carl Butthole, for being here today. You've listened to the Bar Talkcast. Thank you.
We love you, Plymouth.
All right. Thanks for listening to our podcast. Don't forget to check out our other podcasts. There's the Bar Talk podcast. There's Old Colony Cast. And, of course, the Inebriart podcast along with Jam Packed. You can find all those on Stitcher, iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, pretty much anywhere podcasts are found. If you're on some sort of service and you can't find it, let us know, and we'll help you out and or add our podcast to that too. You can contact us at inebriart@yahoo.com and follow us on Facebook as well as Twitter at inebriart. And feel free to send us some tips, ideas, advice, hate mail, whatever it is, you can get us there. And again, thanks for listening.